No slides? Good morning. Whether you're here in person, joining us online, or watching later on YouTube, welcome to First Parish in Concord. I'm Reverend Seth Carrier-Ladd, your interim senior minister. My pronouns are he, him. If you're online, please feel welcome to participate fully in the chat. If you're here in person and have questions about accessibility or the building, please see our ushers or any worship leader. Masks are optional throughout our building, including in this space. We continue to use enhanced ventilation and encourage masking to keep our communal spaces safe for everyone. I invite everyone present here in the sanctuary now to turn and wave to those folks who are joining us online. However you are joining us this morning, thank you for coming. We're glad you are here. And just a note, they can see you. The screens are not going to be on this morning. We're having a technical difficulty with those, but the Zoom is working, so they definitely saw you waving. All right. Our announcements. After the service, worship sharing circles, a small group conversation about the service theme happens in the Brooks room down there and on Zoom. We also have coffee hour, a less structured way to connect. On Zoom, you just stay on after the service. In person, you get your coffee in the kitchen if you want and mingle in the parish hall. We should have a standing committee rep here this morning. I believe it's supposed to be Jen. Yeah, there she is. Hi. Jen is happy to answer any questions that you have about church life and governance after the service. Also after the service today, Arthur Bembury, the executive director of Partakers, will be at coffee hour, as well as at an info session at 11:30 in the Emerson room to invite people to become mentors to incarcerated men who are enrolled in college degree granting programs at MCI Concord and MCI Shirley. Please come meet Arthur if you're interested. And there's lots of other stuff going on here at First Parish, so please check out your Sunday announcements sheets for more announcements, as there is a lot going on. And now, please rise in body or spirit as we sing our opening hymn, number 349, We Gather Together.
We come to this time and this place to rediscover the wondrous gift of religious community, to renew our faith in the holiness, goodness, and beauty of life, to reaffirm the way of the open mind and full heart, to rekindle the flame of memory and hope, and to reclaim the vision of a world made fair with all her people one. In that spirit, we light our flaming chalice, which is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, along with many congregations around the globe. In your order of service, you will find our chalice lighting response. O flame of our faith, open our hearts and fill our bodies and souls with persistent strength, enliven our spirits, and engage us deeply in this life of ours, this sacred, essential moment now. Hello. I'm the Reverend Amy Friedman. For those of you who I haven't yet had a chance to meet, I serve here as the Minister of Religious Education. And today we are getting ready for Thanksgiving. Perhaps you are getting ready for Thanksgiving in your household or in households that you may join soon. In this season, when we prepare for the holidays and we prepare to celebrate the many blessings that sustain our lives, we are also mindful of people who are having a difficult time. And perhaps that's you, too. Perhaps you are having a challenging time. During COVID, many people experienced job insecurity and food insecurity, and our whole globe was affected, continues to be affected by war, and so there are food shortages that have led to higher costs. And one of the blessings of our wider community is an organization called Open Table. Open Table is a resource for all of us who might need a little help to make ends meet, a little help in nourishing our families, and for those of us who might have plenty, an opportunity for us to be of service in making sure that the people in our community are well fed. And so today in our religious education classes, we are creating kids' bags. Kids' bags have things that kids can bring to school, because I don't know about you, but when I am hungry, I have a real hard time thinking clearly. And so kids' bags are an opportunity for us to make sure our children, our youngest, have the food they need to be able to think clearly, but also to have growing bodies with the vitamins that they need in order to become fully formed adults to then help us to make a better world. If you brought some food for our kids' bags this morning, I'd like to see a raise of hands, because a lot of people were generous in donating food already downstairs. Does anyone have food in the pews this morning? Yes, there are some people who do. Okay, we're gonna sing a song together. Beth, of course, will lead it. And if you brought food, you can bring it forward right up here, and so you don't have to trek all the way up and then come back down and then go to class. You can come and sit in the first couple pews.
So the song we're going to sing is "Oh, We Give Thanks," and it's call and response, so you just sing back to me what I sing to you. Here we go. Come on down with the food. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for nuts and seeds and mac and cheese. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. One more time. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this food we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for this precious day, for this precious day.
Thank you to the families that brought food forward. You know, a lot of the work that we do as a community is not seen. And so this is just a symbol of a whole bunch more food that's already up in the Emerson room. Thank you so much for what you have given so that we can create these kids' bags today. In our services, for the next few Sundays, we are talking about the First Parish benediction. And so, since we're also talking about food, I pulled something out which has, before my time here, is there a kid who would be willing to hold this for me? So this is a version that was created a long time ago, and I don't know by who. We can find out. If you know, I'd love to know. And it is a version of the benediction called the Garden Benediction. And it goes like this, and if you know it, you can help me. Go out into the world in peace. Have carrots. You're so smart. Now this one's harder because I didn't know how to illustrate this, so you can bear with me. This is supposed to be hold on to what is green, okay? This one here. Hold on to what is green. Return to no person. Zucchini for zucchini. Now, this one I have to tell you too, because it's a little hard. This is strengthen the transplanted, okay? Okay, strengthen the transplanted, support the, yes, help with the watering, honor all beings. Thank you so much. I want to invite all of our children to come forward as we join together in song.
Good morning. My name is Jeff Green. I'm a board member of Camino Verde, this month's Share the Plate recipient. And if you've ever wanted to act locally and think globally, this might be your opportunity. Camino Verde is based in the Amazonian rainforest in Peru and was founded 15 years ago by Robin Van Loon, whom you may have seen here 2 weeks ago. As many of you know, Robin grew up in Concord and was raised in this church. But what you may not know is that as an unformed 19-year-old, he left the comfortable confines of Concord and went to the Amazonian jungle of Peru. He said he wanted to experience the University of Life. A few years later, he decided that that was where he would make his stand against climate change, worked to preserve local agriculture and an ancient indigenous wisdom, and founded Camino Verde, just your normal 19-year-old. He began his work by planting some trees and establishing himself in Baltimore, Peru, along the Tambo-Pacha River. In addition to planting trees and working with local farmers, Robin was cultivating another natural resource, hope. Hope is elusive and so hard to sustain, especially when you are one person working against a complex global system of climate change, sclerotic government agencies, and unresponsive international economic systems. But Robin has held fast to his radical notion that it is possible for one person to have an impact on this system. And now, 15 years later, Robin and his staff have planted over 300,000 trees, created a living seed bank to preserve endangered species, and are working with many indigenous communities to plant over 20,000 rosewood trees to restore their land and create regenerative systems of agriculture that will ensure that they can live on their land sustainably. And that other natural resource, hope, is flourishing too. Camino Verde has a vision to do much more, and we will, but as a nonprofit, of course, where money is always in short supply. So please give generously. You will be acting locally and thinking globally. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. We will now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering.
morning. This morning's reading is from an excerpt from Held, Showing Up for Each Other's Mental Health by Barbara F. Myers. Dr. Mark Reagans is a staff psychiatrist at The Village. That is an integrated service agency in Long Beach, California, that is renowned for its success in treating difficult psychiatric cases, often involving homelessness, schizophrenia, and substance abuse. He says, "When I ask psychiatrist patients who have done well what I did that was helpful to them, they almost always recount some moment of human connectedness. It was when you hugged me and I could tell you knew how much it pained me to have my child taken away. It was when you believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. It was when you lent me $5 even though you're not supposed to. It was when you drove me home from the hospital in your car even though I was smelly. It was when I knew you really cared and wouldn't give up on me. In other words, it was when they were the recipient of an act of human kindness or when someone believed in them. These moments are what help in healing. Here is where the faith community comes in. People of faith are experts in human kindness. We can believe in people. We can see something inside them that they are able to see themselves. We can give acceptance and love even when an illness is untreated or a person feels hopeless. And these may be central factors in someone's recovery.
Strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, help the suffering. This is the part of the benediction we're examining today, helping those in need. I love the message of this section. Altruism, helping others, is at the core of the religious impulse. In various shapes and forms, faith traditions across the world encourage their adherents to think about and help other people. That religion asks this of us, that Unitarian Universalism asks this of us, is not earth-shattering news. Most of us know this already. It is only one of the jobs of our religious gatherings and our religious traditions, though, to open us up to new ideas, insights, and wisdoms. Another one of its central jobs is to remind us of the wisdom we already know, and to gently and lovingly call us back to our beliefs and values when we stray from our chosen path. That is what this section represents to me. The call, the reminder to one of the most basic and central parts of what it means to live well in the world, to help people. I love the message of this section of the benediction, and I struggle with the words used to express the message. Based on the feedback shared by those of you who offered it this week, I am not alone in that struggle. Your feedback included significant amounts of appreciation, and more so than last week, also included some concerns. About strengthen the faint-hearted, one of you wrote, "I've always liked this line. It reminds me that people may not be suffering in a big way, nor weak, but life is hard, and we all have moments of faint-heartedness and can use a little TLC." Another person said, "This means to see what I can do to help those who may be having a hard time or feeling low. It may be just listening to a friend going through some kind of difficulty, or helping to cheer them up, or remind them they are loved, or sending a note or doing something else to comfort them, or just spending time with them. It reminds me that I don't always know who is faint-hearted at a particular time, so to try to act with kindness towards others in any case." One of you wrote, "I think this line is about providing compassionate emotional support to people who are overwhelmed by life stresses, illnesses, etc. However, the words assume that I, the receiver of this advice, am strong and well. This assumption comes from a place of privilege, which is really problematic." About supporting the weak, one of you wrote, "Sometimes we are all weak. If weakness is a diminishing of the strength we once felt. And supporting people in that moment brings us closer to God or love or just the person we want to be." Another person shared, "I have some difficulty with support the weak and help the suffering. As someone who has lived with a long-term illness for over 40 years that impedes how I move in the world, you might perceive me as weak and or suffering, and that doesn't fit my experience. My legs may be weak, but my inner spirit is strong. I'd prefer including knowledge that we all share difficulties, that we have common struggles and experiences. As someone who may be perceived as weak or suffering, I want your support to be an acceptance of difference and the recognition that you are just like me and I am just like you. We each have our own insecurities or limitations." And then finally, help the suffering. One of you wrote, "To me, this line means don't ignore the lives of those who have less than you. Support and accept those with limited resources and limited self-knowledge." Another person wrote, "This asks me, how can I listen or help or cheer someone up, or buoy them through their ordeal, or help end or lighten their suffering in some way, or just be present for them?" Someone else wrote, "It makes me feel like I'm working from a position of privilege and power. Charity. It's a way to keep power while appearing compassionate." About this whole section, all three lines together, one of you wrote, "All three of these lines kind of prompt me to do the same thing. Be compassionate to those who are struggling or suffering. Never become blind to those who are suffering and in need, even if I cannot help them at all, but do what I can to help. Another person said of this section, this part of the benediction feels sort of outdated at best, a kind of unrefined patrician or patriarchal sentiment. So there's a variety here, right? And some of those words might have landed hard for some of you and maybe even hurt your hearts. But it's important, I wanted you to hear, right, that this section lands differently for different people. Because these are not my words. All of those were what you had to say. Strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, help the suffering. Preaching asks of me as a preacher that I am on board with the message I'm trying to convey. The best sermons are ones where the preacher is fully engaged and passionate about the content of the sermon. If I'm bored with what I have to say, you are going to be bored hearing me say it. So every Sunday, I try to share something that speaks to my soul in some way, something that I care about and believe in. I am fully on board with what this section asks of us in the big picture. Help those in need, help those who are struggling. I can get behind that message. I can't preach to you, though. I can't authentically tell you that I think you should strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, and help the suffering. The language and tone of these phrases is just too much of a barrier for me. The words faint-hearted and weak feel judgmental to me. Faint-hearted and weak are not words that I would use in a blessing, which is what a benediction is supposed to be, a blessing to close a religious service. If I were to say to you, Jane is faint-hearted and weak, you probably wouldn't think I was being kind. You might think I was being a little mean. And more broadly, I struggle with the tone. As is true for some of you, this section comes across as condescending to me. So I very much appreciate that these lines are very meaningful to many of you, and I 100% agree with the overall sentiment. And I wish the words were different. If I was going to rewrite these 3 lines while keeping the same general form, they might sound something like this. Be present and listen to those feeling anxious, afraid, and vulnerable. Offer compassion to those who are struggling. Help those in need. I'll say it one more time just so it can sink in. I was going to put them up on the screen, but... Be present and listen to those feeling anxious, afraid, and vulnerable. Offer compassion to those who are struggling. Help those in need. Those are words that I can use to preach this message. And so let me do so by telling you a story. Almost 20 years ago, I was co-teaching an OWL class, Our Whole Lives. That's one of our sexuality education classes. This was for 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. And it was great. OWL is a wonderful program, highly recommend it. I was so happy to be teaching it. But one of the Sundays where we were offering the class, I was really struggling. I was feeling down, I was feeling not good about myself, and I struggled to get out the door. And I wasn't just showing up a few minutes late. I think the class was only supposed to be for an hour, and I finally managed to get myself there half an hour late. No warning to my co-facilitator, nothing. I just was late. And when I did get there, I was not much of a help. Right? I was still lost in wherever I was. I sat there. I think I might have had my arms folded the whole time. And I was just physically present, didn't say much. So we get to the end of the class, and my co-facilitator, Elaine was her name, and she sends the kids on their way, gives them their homework, all of that stuff. And we got to the moment that I was dreading, because I was assuming that she was going to be pissed at me. And so I was prepared, and she said, "Are you okay?" And man, it just hit me because I wasn't, right? And that was what was the most important thing to her in that moment. She just asked, "Are you okay?" And so I said, no, I'm not okay today, shared a little bit. And she talked with me and offered some kind and supportive words. Now, I was certainly feeling anxious, afraid, and vulnerable in that moment. And I was definitely struggling. Was I ever on the struggle bus that day? And Elaine was present to me and listened. She offered me compassion. And she helped me in more ways than I would have thought in the moment, as over and over again over the years, I thought back to her gift of grace. Now, maybe that story says a lot about me too, in addition to what it says about Elaine, because when this happened, I couldn't imagine myself offering the calm, "Are you okay?" if the roles had been reversed. If that had happened to me back then, I would have been like, "What's going on? Why were you late?" Right, all this stuff, blaming, upset, frustrated. Now, I could see myself saying, "Are you okay now?" which is good, right? I've grown as a person. But regardless of what the story says about me, what Elaine did that morning is a role model for showing up for other people and loving them as they are, struggles and all. So the call, right, is to help others. Be present, offer compassion, listen. Now, there's a social justice part to this section as well. And the challenge here for me, especially for me with my struggles with the wording, is how we answer this call to help others in social action and social justice in an ethical and just manner. Because too often in the past, conservative and liberal religious folk alike would swoop in without talking to the people they were trying to help and implement their solution to the problem that they perceived the people they were helping to have. So here's an example of this, right? A group wants to go into a neighborhood that's in a food desert, and they're struggling to get the food that they need to feed their families and themselves. And they decided that they were going to put in and build a community garden so that people would have fresh vegetables, which is great. Community gardens are wonderful. And so they did this and helped try to get everything set up this community for success with their community garden, and then they left. And the community garden didn't get much use because they didn't talk to the people they were trying to help. They didn't find out what the needs were and how best to meet those needs. And it turned out that what would have been most helpful for that community was some sort of help with transportation to get to supermarkets and places like that. Because especially for many of those folks in that neighborhood were working more than one job to try and make ends meet, and they didn't have time to go garden to make their food. What they needed was transportation. And so, I'm hoping that the benediction calls you to a different kind of help. That when we're thinking about helping people in terms of social justice, social action, and community service, helping meet the needs, that we work on doing the opposite of that kind of help. That we go in and we build relationships, and we ask people what they need, and we respect the people that they have some of those answers. We don't think that we know better. So yes, this part of the benediction calls us to social justice work. And when we do that, it is incumbent on us when we do so to build relationships with the people we are wanting to help, to respect and treat them as equals, and to ask them what kind of help they want and need. And then to listen to what they say. And this can be really hard for us sometimes, because sometimes we ask and then do the other thing anyway. To actually listen to what they say and then show up and do it when they tell us what they need. Because sometimes we are the people in need of help. And that is how we would want people to help us, whatever kind of help it is we need. Because it's the right way to try to do good in the world. So friends, as we seek to strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, and help the suffering, let us do so with love and compassion for ourselves and for those we are trying to help. Let us do so with relationship and with respect. Let us help in ways not that harm, but heal. Amen. This is the prayerful section of our service where people share joys and sorrows. We send healing prayers and get well wishes to Holly Jones-White, who is recuperating from knee replacement surgery. She welcomes cards and calls from First Parish friends. Virginia Ginny McCoubry died peacefully at home under hospice care on November 10th. May her memory be a blessing. We offer our sincere condolences to friends in her First Parish small group, her children, and extended family. Is there anyone else on your heart and in your mind right now? If so, I invite you to call their names aloud or type them into the chat now. There are also often things which are sometimes difficult to name out loud. We pause for another moment of silence for all that remains unspoken on our hearts. There are so many challenging things happening in the world. Wars and fighting, cataclysmic weather events. People here are hurting, people out there are hurting. There are many of us who need to be held in love. We shall do so this morning with our prayer, one written by our very own Reverend Liz Weber. Liz wrote, "Spirit of life, help us to be present with all that is our life, both our deepest sorrows and our greatest joys, so that we can truly live, engaging fully in our own life and in our community. Spirit of community, help us know how linked we are, how each one of our cares touches us all. Help us to ask for support when we are in need and offer our support to others when we are able, so that we may rest in the solace of one another's love. Spirit of love, help us to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, so that we might fully embody love and resist hatred. Spirit of resistance, help us to stick up for what is right, even when we are tired or afraid. Help us to dream of the world as it should be and act to bring that world about. Help us to find hope each day. Spirit of hope, help us through this day and each day. Help us to be present for all that is our life. For all this we pray. Amen, and blessed be." Friends, going to church is about wrestling with the questions. It's about being uplifted. Hopefully, we've done a little bit of both today. Our benediction, your benediction, is beautiful, and it calls us to so many good things. Let us lift up this morning its call to be good to each other, to care, to offer compassion, to be present, to help one another. And now let's rise in body or spirit as we join in singing our closing hymn, number 32. Now thank we all our God. Friends, let us join now in saying our benediction. Go out into the world in peace. Go and be blessed and be a blessing.